Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ayla from the New Federal State of China. Welcome to our special program, Miles Trial. We will be live to share you the latest update on Mr. Miles Guo's criminal case, which is happening at the New York Southern District of New York, courtroom 26B. We'll be bringing you live update about Mr. Guo's trial daily from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As many of you have already been aware, the government has spent huge amount of time calling on their own, prosecution witnesses. Up till now, the government has called 35 witnesses since day one of the trial. It was indicated in the court that the prosecution team will also intend to play a handful of videos to present to the jury after completing all of their witnesses. It seems to us that the prosecution team had left a very limited amount of time for the defense team, which is Mr. Guo's defense team, to present their own evidences and defense testimony in the court. It is still under consent to the judge and both parties that the court will complete by July 12th, which means, before the jury deliberation date, approximately around July the 8th, Mr. Guo only will have 2 full days next week to present its own defense testimony and maybe the closing. So let's now move back to our studio. We will be having a roundtable discussion today, and Feder and Seton will be joining with us.
Thank you for having us on the show, Ayla.
Hi, Emma. Hi, everyone.
Absolutely. Let's dive into the conversations, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, you two are, present in the court this morning. We were aware that the government actually called upon a victim witness yesterday in the afternoon and began the direct examinations. And the 34th witness, whose name is Wei Chen, she's a female. She came with, seemed to be a very well-educated background, had a position at the bank related to senior auditing position. And she claimed that she had, a certain amount of investments into related entities in the indictment, and claimed that she had not received a refund. And, as a very typical message with all the other victim witnesses, alongside similar to what the CCP having prosecuted Miles online, saying that Mr. Guo is a liar. So let's, dive into the morning conversations and tell us a little bit how, the morning cross-examination went.
I'll talk about a bit something related to the cross-examination that was related to yesterday. It was the issue was brought up by the government that's before the trial started. So the government claims that the so-called victim in this criminal case has the right to be protected, treated correctly, protect her privacy. So, they claim that a series of exhibition, the evidence have invaded, let's say there's present with prejudice and there's harassment that's caused by the defense team. So, there's certain, let me see here. Yes, the defense team made it clear that they did not intend to disclose her credentials. It's only to help, they have the intention to impeach her, and then this is only to help their questioning, the cross-examination. And afterwards, the government, government claims that the defense lawyer is embarrassing and harassing her by showing, let's say, her online account, nickname, yes, and then that she can be found online. So this is like some sort of harassment for her. And then the judge later on decide that this is it's being approved, and that it's giving them opportunity to impeach her testimony, so that this way that the defense team can continue cross-examination and present certain exhibition. And this is the reality, because in the criminal case, it's really common that you can make so-called victim feel uncomfortable. And wherever like a rigorous confrontation it's been taking place during the cross-examinations, this is very common, and there's no any issues regarding to the exhibition from the defense team. It was resolved. Let me see if
Yeah,
there's any
just
other issue.
added on with what Feather had addressed today in the court. About the demonstration of her online social media account. It was actually not linked to a legal name. It was only an online nickname name, right? And the account was shown for chat purposes because it was the purpose of reminding her whether she has actually connected with some of the other members in the whistleblowers movement. And in fact, that in all of our programs at Live Broadcast, we did not try to attack or invade into any of the privacies of the witness. We've never, done so much of pulling on witness photos or like names. We have never done stuff like this. What we were doing was just to present what was being shown in the court, which was public, and what was being addressed by both parties. And so that will clear all of the stances of our program, and alongside with any other programs that the new federal state of China has been doing during Miles' trial period of time. Our only sole purpose was to convey the most accurate information that our supporters observed from the court.
Right, and just to add on, I think there was another piece of information pertaining to her resume that is also involved in this conversation as well, and it is also to build another argument from the defense's side, which again is just to refresh her memory on a certain aspect of her resume. And again, I think there's also a pattern with these victim witnesses that they tend to forget certain information. So like you said, having this information there, it would really be helpful to not just the witness themselves, but also the jury, because there are certain information that they just don't remember during cross-examination, and the main purpose is really to refresh their memory on certain things that might be important to be brought up during the cross-examination and confirmed.
Right, and I found it very interesting that the prosecution team actually used harass rather than feel embarrassed or making you feel uncomfortable. So, I'm curious to know more about, how our defense lead the cross-examination today.
I'll give a very general impression of mine. It was quite unresponsive, the whole cross-examination.
Right.
It was difficult to get a direct answer from this witness. And, just dancing around a question without directly answering it. So a lot of answers being moved to strike. And the witness herself keep asking question back to the lawyer and then raising her voice. We're going to get to the detail of the things she said about in her investment and the thing that contradicts, her own testimony.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think this might be something different than the witnesses before, where a witness has continuously asked for clarity from the defendant side from the questions they raised. And in turn, I think it has caused a bit of confusion for our defense team, because I think there were a number of instances where there were objections raised because it was getting closer to commentary rather than questioning, just because of the fact that there were the witness was raising questions herself too, because she did not understand. She wanted more clarity on the questions being asked. But we will get to more details about that, and then we can kind of begin to see why we can get a sense of like if there was why was there a confusion with some of the questions.
Well, yeah, because before Feather started, I think, for me, the confusion lies here because it seems to us that she came with a very educational background, that, she studied English very long time ago. She went to United States around, early 2000, and, she was able to, have a degree, a master degree. She was able to actually work in finance industries like bank, work in the Big Four before. So it doesn't seem to me that she would be the one who would be having problems understanding the questions, because some of the other so-called victim witnesses or former supporters of the movement, they actually asked for translation help, and that was where I think it will probably lost some accuracy in the language, in the interpretation. But she seems to be okay when the government do the direct examination with her. So it was absolutely a very frustration, I think, for the defense team.
Yeah, never did she once ask for clarification when the government asked her a question, and then when it comes to cross-examination, she even asks help. She looks at judge a lot of times to ask, can I answer this question? She wants to trying to justify, I didn't say this, I that's not what I mean. And then it's also when there's only a yes and no question, she adds additional information when there's no question being asked. So that's where the time has been, I would say, wasted on, because she would not answer the question accordingly. And
There was an instance where she made a statement when there was no questions asked, and of course it was striked right after that. So
Yes.
just to add on to give an example.
That's
of
right.
that.
And then for example, they would go on this I don't know, let's say the word review. They would, they were like
with only
trying to-
one single word to
one single
clarify
word.
the world.
Yes. What do you mean by review? Like, what do you mean by review? He showed me the page. She asked for clarification. She doesn't want to answer a question without knowing every single word meaning of that question. But when it comes to defense lawyer, she's very, very cautious and trying to kind of. Asking, I was finding she's questioning the lawyer most of the time.
Just for our audience knowledge, right? She studied business English when she was in China.
Yeah.
And that's how, she went to the United States and had a full scholarship when she did her master degree.
Right.
So, it was absolutely a little bit inconsistent of, how she needs clarification on even the simple words as review. Yeah.
Right, and just to paint the full picture of what Feta was saying, she was questioned by the defense team that did Mr. Finkel review this document with you, and they presented document evidence, and they asked did Mr. Finkel review this document with you, and then her question was, what do you mean by review? So that is the full picture. And she also testified a little bit later in the morning that she understands Chinese. She has no problem understanding Chinese. She has no problem understanding English.
Wow.
So it's not a language issue at that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But why don't we start with some logistics? Just remind our audience about her background. How much she had been investing into entities that were related to the indictment, and with all these investments, what arguments that she was trying to make.
Yeah, for sure. So, when it was asked before by the defense team, so at the time when she was making investment, she did not make a notes of all the money I believe the money that she donated
Wired.
where she wired. But later on, she provides this summary chart of all of the money, and then with to which account, with what bank account, and with all the detailed information, and then with the dates as well, that the money she invested in, including the donation to Rule of Law Foundation. So let me just go back to the end, and when it comes to the end of direct examination, the government tend to lead to a conclusion that this is a fraud, and then everything is a fraud. If the arguments, if you would known that they use this money to Miles uses money for his luxury life, would you still donate? And then she's like, no to everything, right? This is the main arguments that they're trying to prove that she got scammed because of everything Miles said in the video, and she trusted Miles so much that she ignored all the legal documents, and she thinks all the legal documents talking about risk factors are all just standard language that she doesn't have to go through. I'll get to that part which she said exactly, but she said she's been, I have the full speech here. She's been brainwashed. She watched Miles's video hundreds of times with her husband. She trusted a fraudster. She's blaming herself. She regrets that she made the decision to donate this much money, and then it's been painful. It's hard feelings. It hurts a lot. Miles. Why? So when it was asked, what caused you to be brainwashed? And she said, Miles, the messages Miles said in the video will keep repeating the messages and make you believe it's true. And I don't know how it happened to me. And she repeated, I don't know how that happened to her. And it makes her feel like an idiot. So as we talk about her education background, and and her husband is a PhD. He has a PhD, and they reviewed all documents together and made this joint decision of investing according to her chart. It's a total of $103 million, around $100 million, including donation. So this is her testimony saying that all of this is based on what Miles said, and that she got brainwashed. But very interesting. Why do I find this a contradiction? Is that when she said she watched a video 100 times, she doesn't remember any of the things Miles said about taking down the Chinese Communist Party. She never remembered anything that related to the Chinese Communist Party corruption, and anything related. She only remembers, oh, Miles wants to bring American value to China, which is true. But then everything else regarding other values, she does not remember. She only remember what he said that about the investment, that the investment will go big, will have a bright future, there's a big return with zero risk, which, you know,
Right.
it's been proven in the previous witness it's not true.
Yeah.
Right? So I can go into more details. Do you want to add anything to that, Saturn?
I just want to emphasize the fact that she made a very clear point. Like every chance she got, that whenever she made the investments, it was me and my husband that made the decision, and then my husband made the investment, logged on the accounts, all of that. And another fact I wanted to add on to is the fact that she claims to have watched so many of Miles's videos when investments are only a very small aspect of what Miles just talks about on the shows. Is because a majority of the shows he whistleblows against the CCP, and so like it's really doesn't, at least to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, just given the fact that the investments is only really a small part, very small part of the shows. And when she was presented some of the photo evidences of certain shows, I know that it was one of his bankruptcy videos where he declared bankruptcy, when he was about to declare bankruptcy. That video was brought up. She doesn't remember that such a video exists, and also she never read his bankruptcy paperwork as well. So I think it's again some little bit of confusion with the information that was being presented by her.
Right. Well, I think one of the drastic point is, with all of the past previous victim witnesses, that it was very clear when defense asked them about what messages that Miles Guo had been carrying in his videos, it was always very clear and standard: take down the Chinese Communist Party, and that was kind of like a consensus for all of the so-called victim witnesses who appeared in a court. But for this one, it seems to be a very a very selective choice of words that she chose to answer the questions, because like you said, that she said that Miles' message was to bring American value back to China, and never touches on CCP. And when talk about any of these things related to CCP's corruptions, CCP's no rights of private properties, that she always said that I don't remember, and it doesn't it doesn't match with how one person could brainwash you while you are not even remembering what that person was saying in the videos, right? So that was one of the parts I think lots of our audience could have some confusion as well.
Yes, for sure. And I also want to bring up the volunteer work that she talked about during the cross-examination. So in the direct yesterday, she claims that she works volunteer work for the farm for average of 40 hours a week during a period of time. And by that time, she claims she also had a job at bank, full-time job at bank. She also have a kid that she has to take care of. And then the timesheet, I remember today was reviewed, that the timesheet she submitted during that period of time, this from the end of February to October 2022, there's a total of 2,390 hours of volunteer work. Okay? And she doesn't remember who she submitted this timesheet to, and she doesn't admit that when it was asked, do you know that Miles was promoting there's a reward for people joining the farm and do the volunteer work? She said, I don't know, I don't remember. And it was asked, did they tell you the people that she submitted this form, the timesheet to, did they tell you that you inflated the timesheet? So what from what the defense know, that there's a disagreement from the people who is in charge of managing the timesheet and then giving out the reward, and her have a disagreement on whether she actually have that many hours of work, volunteer work, right? And then the disagreement, the people pushed back her hours, and then she stopped doing volunteer. Okay, and they disagree with her about the she provided a work description along with the timesheet, saying, this time I did this work, this hour I did that work, but then they disagree. And I mean, there's this also H coin allocation. That's like, I think it's called coefficient. That's given to her that because of it's a reward,
work.
right?
Mhm.
With the work she put into, and she there's the when she let me see here.
Yeah, well, I think adding on a little bit
Yeah.
about what Feder said about her volunteer work, I remember that yesterday when Sabrina asked, then how did you manage that? It was probably government asked her, how did you manage your time? And her answer was, I don't sleep. And so it was at the time, people have very shocked faces. And she said that, I don't sleep because I have work, I have full-time job, I have children to take care.
Yes.
And later on she said that I use my vacation time so that I took vacation time and then I can work for the movement.
Right.
And when prosecution team asked her, why you choose to do volunteer work, her answer was because Miles asked us to do volunteer. So, everything, we were not trying to say, whether she lied to the public or not, but everything she said confused the people of why someone under rational would make certain actions like this.
Yeah, also on top of that, she said she doesn't sleep, she had a vacation time. On top of that, with the work at the bank, she worked at home. So she stayed at home the whole time, almost the whole time during this time period when she was doing the volunteer work for the farm, for NFSC. Just wanted to mention about she was doing the calculation of the H coin, right? That's someone. It's how do you say that? Addressed to the people, and she wants to calculate those clear it out and who if this person belonged this much. Allocations. Yes. And then and then she disagreed with the way that they were doing this allocation because she said it was very complicated. She claims that let me just find the word here.
I think what she claims was that saying that the farm did a miscalculation on her own investments, and that's the primary reason that she wants to join the volunteer work. And then she specifically emphasized because this is all hard-earned money from the supporters, and this was the money to Miles School. So it was it seems to me that her answers with layers by layers always emphasize on that how hard and how much work that the supporters have been devoted into the movement, into supporting Miles. And the other impression that she wants to set up the stage is she wants to say that Miles has keeping asking money from us, and then there was always miscalculation, misconduct of what was being made in that group. So let Feder reveal the notes a little bit, and then Saturn, tell us about your general impression when she was doing this testimony, because obviously I think there was lots of confusion just in terms of the way that she answered the questions, and then I would assume that the defense faced much frustration when someone keeps asking you questions back.
Right, absolutely. I think just even from this, right before the lunch break, this is when we began to get a little bit into her volunteer work. It was mentioned that, some of the evidence couldn't really be presented because they were not admitted, but it was a conversation between her and one of the other volunteers who are in charge of, confirming people and, for the teams. She had tried to apply for the financial team of the MOS chapter, and I believe in the Chinese writing, because I couldn't see it, but from what the questions they were asking is, she was very eager to join and be a part of the team, and then she had offered up her her credentials, and it was a list of things. Let me tell you, it was a list of things, and it seemed like she was very, very extremely qualified for the role in the financial team. And when she was asked, about this stuff, she said, I submitted this information because I was asked to by the volunteer, but our side said, but you said you were very eager to do volunteer work. So it's information like that and testimonies like that creates a lot of confusion. I think not just for herself, but I think even for everybody on site at the trial, it's a lot of confusion behind, I guess, the intention of the decisions being made.
Right.
Because I think that's a overall theme for the victims is the intentions on and also why did this they decided to make certain decisions, right? And I think a lot of it comes down to, I trusted Miles. Really, I think that has been a overarching theme, especially when it comes to investments. I think there was one part where, H-Coin to the moon was being brought up. And when she was being questioned, it's because, Miles, is it because, Miles said that H-Coin will reach $100 very soon. They said, yeah, because he's, she said, yeah, because he said that. And another thing was that he had mentioned that it would be very similar to Bitcoin, but when she was questioned about if she remembers, how much Bitcoin was, she doesn't really remember. And the point of that argument, I think, from our defense is the fact that Bitcoin did fluctuate a lot in the price, and I think that's something that they wanted to point out when comparing the two with H-Coin, just because of that fact. Because I think it was mentioned that it was 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 over the years, so the price was jumping by a huge margin. I mean, 40 to 60, that's a 50% difference.
Right, absolutely. And Fedor, before we going back to all of those details of the testimony, do you remember how long it takes for the defense to lead a cross-examination with her today?
So the cross-examination started yesterday, but from this morning 9:30 only it went after lunch break until 12:55.
Wow.
Yes, because and also she would raise her voice to the lawyer, the defense lawyer, saying, I have made it clear, why do you ask me again? And, multiple times during the court, that's making the question not only just not smooth, it's being extremely difficult, for people to understand, for her to make a point with her question, for the defense lawyer. You want to add anything?
Yeah, because I think the easy way to look at it is if I'm trying to build a logic, right, then it's through a chain of questions and a chain of answers for the defense team to be able to represent a certain logic. But if there are breaks in between each of the answers, literally every answer, it's impossible to create the logic just because there is no flow. There is no flow to things. If there's no flow, then there's no logic. So that's why it's been very difficult for us to, record any, take notes just because of that fact. Because there's not straight answers. If there's straight answers, okay, we jot it down. But we're getting questions because there's confusion with the questions being asked by the defense team. So I think that might bring a little bit more clarity as to what the whole cross-examination must have been like.
When it was asked a simple question, she clearly understands, and then she was able to modify. We're trying to make it clear that the question being asked is not correct or something like that. But then let me just see this one part. Yeah, I found the detail. Let me just see here. It was asked. Oh, I made it loud and clear. I sent money. I was tricked, things like that, and the dates also, it's hard for her to admit something she did, and then we have to really pull out the evidence showing, look, this is the date you did, and this is the email you sent. This is actually the word by word that you said when you want to reach a certain goal. Let's say purchase the G Club membership, and she claimed that she wasn't buying a G Club membership, but then turns out she had 5 cards that was active.
And to add on to that, then the argument, or at least what she was trying to convey, was the fact that she had made the payment prior to, making sure it was for G Club membership. And she was saying how she did not have a choice. But, our defense team said, well, you had a choice to say no. You had a choice to ask for a refund. So I think it's about how the information is being presented.
And then she answered, so what? She literally just asked in court, so what? I had a chance, so what? I didn't do it because I trust Miles. That's just her logic throughout the whole questioning, right? And it was extremely difficult to hear and then to even follow the logic with, And also with the H-Coin as well, I want to say, she made 95 transactions in total.
In Himalaya Exchange?
In Himalaya Exchange, yes. And then there's 80 sell transactions. And when it was asked, is it because you want to make a profit? She said, no, it's to avoid loss. So in her mind, avoid loss doesn't equal to making a profit. That's why she made 80 sell transactions with Himalaya Exchange.
And that's when she purchased, H-Coin at $40 a piece, right? I think
that
she
was the price
testified to
plan.
that.
Yeah. So she decided to purchase H dollar at
H
40 H coin,
H
sorry,
coin.
H coin at $40 one coin price point, and even 50 afterwards. So she only purchased in 2021 or 2022, 2022 I think. Yeah, that's the price point she purchased. Yeah.
And our defense team also brought up the fact that in order to do so, you needed a ID that's outside of the United States, and she testified that she's a United States citizen.
Wow.
So it was
Wow.
confirmed that she did use her Chinese ID to be able to set up these accounts to be
Yeah.
able to make these
Voluntarily.
purchases.
Wow.
Yeah,
I wonder
voluntarily.
IRS would, if IRS would check her financial situation, because it seems to me that it was made it very clear in all of Mr. Guo's videos that any people who live in United States, Japan, and Canada are prohibited from registering account on Himalaya Exchange, and it was only for people who actually live in where the areas that Himalaya Exchange is available to, and that you can register your own account. So when she holds United States passports, it was almost saying that she did not give up her identities in China, and that she used her identities in China to register for a Himalaya Exchange account. Wow.
Yeah. And also,
Did she mention about how much money that she redeemed from Himalaya Exchange? Because obviously I knew that at a certain point, because of the seizure from the government, that the redemption function was was no longer available to the clients and at Himalaya Exchange. But it seems to me that because I remember that yesterday the court demonstrated an image of the balance that she had with Himalaya Exchange, where that the number of H coin was 0, and then she still had certain numbers of H dollars that she had with her account. But just by further mentioning about the number of her transactions, it does seem to me that there was a certain volume of H dollars or H coins that she could use to complete those transactions.
I don't necessarily remember that if she said she redeemed some, but then when during the redirect examination by the government, she clarified that she could not redeem. And she could not redeem anything, and then she asked for refunds for G Club and all that, and just no answer, no response, and it was all later on verified again by the cross-examination. But then I did not actually get a number that how much money she was able to redeem, but then that's all I know, that she made a 80 cell transaction trying to cover the loss, let's say in her word, right?
Wow.
When it was asked, so Miles said, when it was asked by the defense lawyer, so Miles said the H coin is it's tied to 20% gold, right? There's a gold reserve,
Right.
and then she claimed there's no gold reserve, and then but then she said she believed everything Miles said. So at this point, and then Sabrina the defense lawyer is asking, so if you believe what Miles said, then there is a gold reserve, right? Because this is what Miles said, and then she I don't know if she said I don't know, or she just jumped around another question. There's no response.
If I remember correctly, she just emphasized the fact that she believed what Miles said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of jumping to any conclusion.
Right.
So again, that's another instance of why it was difficult to follow, because it's not a direct answer.
Well, it seems to me that's the longest, cross-examination that Sabrina ever led, with all the past witnesses. Because last time, when a cross-examination, went beyond, an hour, it was, almost with, someone who has very deep knowledge. For example, the representative attorney of the trustee in the bankruptcy case, that cross-examination went over to around 80 minutes. But for this one, it took, half of the afternoon yesterday, an entire morning, and then, another, 30, 40 minutes in the afternoon. So it surprised me that, much frustration was gained during her Q&A.
Yeah, but I want to say, defense lawyer Sabrina Shroff, she's been extremely patient and calm today, and yesterday too, and then trying to still do her job as best as she can by repeating the question and asking different form, just to get through this this cross examination. Another thing I wanted to bring up about this witness, I think, yes. So when she was purchasing the H coin, she's completely it's based on what Miles said about the money. The value of the H coin is gonna go to the moon. It's gonna go to $100 per coin, and that's why even she knows that's after Miles filed the personal bankruptcy. It's after the SEC litigation. She still decided to invest in it because only based on what Miles said. But then the government raised this issue, saying that the defense team trying to lead into this conclusion where we're giving this jury this impression that the witness is capable of reading the documents, that she knows what's going on with the litigation and stuff, and she still decides that's on her. So this is what the government thinks the defense is trying to do, is trying to make her the person responsible in this case. But then the government emphasizes this is what about Miles' intention to fraud. So there's this argument here that whether it's on the witness to make her own judgment on the investment, or Miles' intention to fraud people. So do you remember if anything related that the government's saying to this?
Well, I think you covered a good portion of that part. I don't think there's anything else for me to
this
really,
is the argument
really
that's raised.
add.
I don't know. There's additional things that there's a conclusion, but this is the argument raised by the government. Yes.
Did you two observe any of the reactions from the jury? Because it was very rare, to be honest, with such long cross-examination, and then with lots of dancing around and jumping around the questions and asking for clarifications. How did any of you observe any reactions from the jury?
I noticed in one of the sidebars, a number of them were discussing among themselves.
Yes.
And there was also quite a number of sidebars today, matter of fact.
Wow.
In this morning, just from the cross-examination. A lot of sidebars, a lot of objections, actually from at least a couple of days that I attended the trial. Today, there was the most objections, and I guess a very good amount of sidebars too. Yeah.
Oftentimes with objections, the amount of objections raises when there is a witness that claims to be a victim, right? This is that's where the most objections happens, because of the question being asked and the forms and the leading and the scope and all that. Yeah.
And just to give you another picture of why it was so difficult is because a good number of the objections were actually sustained. So that is the reason why our defense team has to keep trying to convey the questions in a different way to be able to, I guess, get some clarity on certain information on their testimonies, right? And actually, there was just one more thing I would like to point out, and it's just GTV shares. I think that is one of the main concerns for this witness is the GTV shares. And there was this one detail, I think, that I would like to just bring out, and it's the fact that she did not participate in the farm loan program as opposed to some of the previous witnesses who claims to be victims. And the fact that she did not participate in farm loan program, which she could have also gotten GTV shares, was something that was pointed out by the defense team. When asked, did she participate in it? No. Well, you could have gotten GTV shares if you had. So that was very interesting.
Right, because I think her argument was trying to make that for every single penny that she spent related to the movement was about how much she wanted to earn of GTV shares, and so I think that was the main primary purpose, asking why she chose not to join or not to participate in the loan program, because that was supposed to expand her scope of investment, and that was supposed to when she make the calculation of her head count, she could have done more, and so I guess that was probably the primary logic that Sabrina was trying to make. Is there any other primary argument that you two think that worth mentioning to our audience with this specific witness?
Right. For the donation of Rule of Law Foundation. So she donated from period in 2020 to 2022. So the first donation, she said we joined me and my husband, we jointly did it, and you cannot always say my husband did it. It's we decided to do it together. I really don't understand the point of emphasizing, but if you know, please tell me. So the first donation was made paid by the husband, but the decisions made together. It's around like $400, a couple $100. And then in 2022, in 3 days in a row, that was the dates listed. They donated $30,000. So basically, I'd say $10,000 a day. So all of a sudden, there's a $30,000 donation. She thinks it was an investment. She did not think of it as a donation. She would not make this investment if she knows she couldn't get her money back from Rule of Law Foundation. But she did not clarify. Well, first of all, she doesn't know the goal of Rule of Law Foundation. She's not familiar with the things that Rule of Law Foundation has done in the past. Also, she doesn't know who's on board of Rule of Law Foundation, who founded it, and what's the purpose, and etc. And then she think it was an investment. That's why she donated in the first place. And then $30,000 afterwards. Yeah. So it was also counted in the part of the investment in the summary chart that she made.
Yeah.
Right, $30,000 also, it's made across 3 days, a period of 3 days. It wasn't a $30,000, straight up. And also, for the Rule of Law Foundation and Rule of Law Society, I think it's great to always mention and remember the efforts they have done in the past, right? When during the pandemic relief, also during the Russia-Ukraine war, there was assistance provided and to the refugees by the NFSC in the Ukraine rescue operation, and also do some of the events that we have also attended, like America Fest and CPAC as well. There was overall a push, always a push to promote education on how evil the Chinese Communist Party is and efforts to take down the CCP.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think one of the point that this witness always emphasized on a joint effort and a joint decision was that Mr. Guo was actually only making direct communication with her husband, not the witness. So the fact that she would like to emphasize that it is a joint decision was trying to adding on value of her own as a victim witness, because ultimately because it was very clear ultimately it was her husband communicating with Mr. Miles of their wish to join the private placement of the GTV, and she confirmed yesterday with the government that it was Mr. Guo sent out a link of the GTV private placement memo to him, and it was Mr. Guo in WhatsApp communication sent her husband a link. And so when Sabrina asked about whether you joined that communication, whether you were part of the communication, her emphasis was, I was present, I was physically present, I was by my husband.
Right.
So when Mr. Guo sent out a voicemail, we listened together. So I think that was the primary part that she always wanted to emphasize the joint effort, because if she was not part of the communication and if the investments was not even under her name, then how could you validate that, or how could you be qualified as a victim witness?
Everything will be a hearsay at that point.
How would she be able to testify?
Exactly. Yeah, I remember they were showing this WhatsApp conversation screenshot about her husband's text and then Miles's selfie video recorded and sent it to her husband, and she said when he sent a message I was physically present, I was with him, we sent it together or something like that. This really just reminded me of the thing we saw today.
How was Miles when he listened to all of these answers from this witness? Because obviously there were a lot of accusation made by the witness and a lot of emphasis, sometimes raising her own voice volume on when trying to allege that Miles was a liar. So what was Miles' reaction? Was he listening very attentively with, a cold face? Was he looking at her, looking at his defense attorneys and trying to understand, what points could be, attacked back?
It's a combination of those things, right? Because as you know, Miles is, in those situations, Miles is very calm and very collected. Given the fact that he has he has over 70 cases himself. He's extremely experienced in these scenarios. So he was looking at the witness, and he was also spending a lot of time looking at his defense attorneys as well, just because you gotta really see them to see how they're conveying the message, because it's just different seeing the person convey the message rather than just listening to it. So it wasn't a whole lot I was getting at, but it was just really, you can get the sense that he was paying extremely close attention, staying very focused, and also at the same time like staying extremely calm as well.
Oh, yeah.
Calm and collected.
Oh yeah, super focused and listen very carefully and treating it very seriously. And
Did he take notes while the
I think
witness?
so.
Oh
multiple
yeah.
times.
He was taking notes.
Yeah. And during the redirect this afternoon, and then when she was talking about how she's brainwashed, she had her feelings and all that, and she's almost like crying and have really those emotions comes out, and then after she said, would you still invest at the end of after a minute also, it was asked a question by the government, would you still invest if this has happened? And she's like, no, everything's a fraud, and she started laughing again. So within a minute, she transitioned from crying and sobbing and so very sad to laughing and to, I don't know if it's just laughing, having a smile on her face with her mouth open.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Very a dramatic experience. Seeing a witness from crying to laughing, and especially she claimed that she is a victim of all of DC investments. So it does seem to us that some of the witness, when they attend to the when they appear as witness and in the court, that they have their emotions were at a certain level, that the emotions actually contained a lot of part in their testimony rather than the yes or no. So I think that was one of the primary strategies that to leave certain impressions on the jury, seeing these witnesses being brought on by government. And so who's the next witness? Because I remember that the government had made it very clear that they have a short witness which will only take an hour, and then a longer witness which will take 90 minutes.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure which one was short and which one was long. So
at this point I really don't know anymore about in terms of the lengths. There's a medium, there's a short, there's long, and then oftentimes they always say, it depends on the cross to make it long or short, right? But the next witness, it's an FBI agent again.
okay.
So I'm not sure. Maybe it's a short one because FBI agents are very straightforward and they ask question accordingly. And I heard there's another witness that's also non-government. That's the last witness they're gonna have, but I don't know. Probably tomorrow.
So there was one more.
Yes.
Wow.
I believe
I
it
think
might
so.
be the expert witness
Yes.
that
Wow.
they were referring to.
Yes. So it might gonna start next Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh my. Wow.
So we have 35 right now. And this FBI agent, it's a computer analysis. So she assisted the MAWA research and also assisted in collection of the digital items that they found in Miss Yvette Wang's apartment and etc. on March 15th. Include hard drive, cell phone, digital evidence items like iPad, computer, etc., etc. So, there's a chart. There's a very long chart of all the digital evidence collected from the phone, from the device, from the location, and you have the serial number of the device and where is this found, the data that's been found, etc., etc. And this is the chart of all the exhibits, all the evidence, in the summary chart. And then afterward, they're gonna pull out, okay, this evidence has been found in this device in this chart. So you know what I mean? It was showing a photo of Lamborghini, of audio recordings, protest photos, wedding photo of Isabelle Depin,
Wow.
which is the daughter of Luc Depin, and a wanted poster. There's a resume, There's also a contract of the yacht, etc., etc. So they're pulling up almost like trying to pick or show one evidence from each device, or more than one evidence from each device. Also, voice recordings, and also I believe a phone call conversation, and it's being there's a transcript, and then it's written, and then they were doing the role playing again, which the government
Wow.
it's the Miles, for example, and the witness is the other person, and they're doing the conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that. And that's when I left. There's a break taken.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it does seem to me that, especially with, the few previous witnesses from the FBI, that lots of the efforts were being made just to present what was being found in those search and what was being found inside these digital devices.
Yeah.
Did, the prosecution team mention about what specific arguments that they were trying to make, or was it simply just to present the evidence? Because there was always patterns where for public audience that we don't even have a clue of what argument that the government was trying to make. But the fact that, they pile up all of the evidences and having the role play conversations and showing you photos of videos, that they want to address something, but that the point was not clear to the public.
Well, if the point's not clear, so they try to make it clear, they were gonna repeat what they're trying to say over and over again. Like, for example, showing the protest poster and the protest those banners or the things they created, and also the photo of Luc Dupin's daughter, Isabelle Dupin, and her husband. So that was afterward. That was after that the Luc Dupin's son-in-law testified in court. Yes, that's what they did before. There's a pattern. There's also this order that's been put. So this digital evidence collected, it's like a master evidence. Digital evidence has been shown by the government after presenting all of those. This evidence chart includes almost every single thing of the things they testified, the witness testified previously. So it included the yacht, the money transaction, conversation from Mileson to another person or accountant, about the protest, about the shipment of the yacht, about the loan to a different. Moving a loan from an account to another account, that includes everything. So they're showing this like as a last bomb. See, this is all the evidence here that we mentioned, related to the witness that's previously testified. So there's a lot of things they're trying to argue. Also by showing the private conversation from Mileson, let's say, with Max Krasner, by showing the private conversation, it can lead to a conclusion where, you see, he's the one trying to move the money around, and for his own expense, something like that, without other context. There's just like screenshots of the, screenshots can be very, very limited from the context and backgrounds, but then they were showing all of those conversation and phone recordings and stuff like that to prove everything that we have shown you previously with other witnesses, it's all listed in here. It's all in digital evidence being collected.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It must have been a lot of evidence, right? That you guys were being presented with.
My brain just like, oh my goodness, this is just so much information. I don't know what note to take.
And
right?
it was not categorized as well, right? From the looks of it, it just seems like it was this device, this evidence, this device, this evidence. So it was jumping back and forth between audio logs and also pictures of I would assume of vehicles, and then bank statements of this, bank statements of that.
Yes, right? It was categorized by the device.
Oh.
By the device,
yes,
not the arguments that the government was trying to make.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's where that people would normally feel tired, about just looking over these things again. But I think, the point that Feder made was, very reasonable, that the government, because at the end of prosecution team's time, that they were trying to just kind of like include everything in digital evidences and maybe in their last witnesses, and trying to set the stage for the closing statements that they were trying to make, because it really is, the very few last hours that they will have to set the stage for the closing statements. But just going back on, do you have anything to add?
Right. I don't know if it was mentioned yesterday, but I don't know if Saturn was there. But they were talking about this closing statement and including the the existed conspiracy.
Yeah, conspiracy.
Yeah, so it was discussed again during the break. That
Wow.
saying there's co-conspirators. They give a list of names. This is all names that I listed at what they did in terms of in this. In the frame, what was the argument about? That they have to confirm that the conspiracy exists before submitting the.
I think it's more so to prove the 13th count, right, RICO. So for that to exist, you kind of have to prove that a conspiracy does exist, and it was said yesterday by the judge that you have to prove that the conspiracy exists. So I think that goes back to another point, is that they haven't really built the sense of conspiracy, at least from what the judge was saying. So I think that's why they are getting close to the closing statement, so they have to establish that. Otherwise they won't be able to include that into a closing statement, right? Which would mean one of the counts is kind of not in the closing statement.
Right. That makes sense. Well, I think what the government was trying to make was that they want to establish the conspiracy even before the closing statements, so that they can have their evidences being admitted into the court. But the problem is that, if the conspiracy is not established or has not been proved to be existed in the past, then, lots of these efforts will only become statements from the defense team. It could be, the allegations from the prosecution, but it does not necessarily mean that the conspiracy actually existed. And so we did, observe, a pattern that they were trying to make, a further name list of co-conspirators, and that, statements or evidences related to co-conspirators to be admitted into the court. Which also being said, if more evidence were being admitted into the court, meaning the government, now thinks that they are obligated to present those documents to the public again. And that, remember that last Friday, they've made a promise to complete prosecution team's time by Wednesday. And that this is now Thursday afternoon, and the court now gets closed for the rest of the week. And that, they still have one more witness, to move on. And then I remember that the prosecution team also mentioned they want to play some certain videos to the jury.
Right.
So it does seem to me that, even if if we still have the majority of the court to be consent with the deadline of July 12th, that almost means that they don't want Miles to talk about anything. They don't want the defense team to talk about anything before they wrap up the case.
Right, and I know next week they are extending the 2 trial days all the way to 5 p.m. So maybe that is a little bit of time, but again, there's only 2 days.
Right.
And I know, like you said, they originally scheduled to be finished by Wednesday, and yet this week it's already finished by now. It's already 4 p.m.
Yes, it is. So we did observe a pattern that the promise and the estimation made by government is somehow not reliable, and that the length of the witness will always extend. But it is what it is. We will see how things develop in the court. So thanks so much for Feder and Saturn to join us today. Very great details and a great effort in observing the court and bringing the information back. And so folks, don't forget to follow us on nfscofficial.com and NFSC Speak on Getter, on X. We will be bringing you live updates about Mr. Miles Guo's trial, and of course, alongside with any of these information brought up by our heroes who still based in mainland China and whistleblowed against the evil nature and the corruption of the Chinese Communist Party. We will be back. We will continue to fight, and we will pray for Miles every single day. We will see you next week. you.